Subscribe with iTunes, Audio Boom, Stitcher, or your favorite podcasting app. And if you enjoy what you hear, like us on Facebook. Also, consider throwing a little cash our way by visiting patreon.com/KoreaFM. And find more of our great content on our home on the web, KoreaFM.net. The head of Singapore's Health Promotion Board announced new plans to fight diabetes that focus on educating the public about the health risks of eating white rice, noting research data from the Harvard School of Public Health that links daily consumption of white rice to an increased risk of developing diabetes. And I spoke with two experts involved in that research to learn more about how white rice has been linked to the disease.
My name is Chi Sang. I'm an assistant professor at Harvard Chance School of Public Health. So diabetes is a chronic disease that, for example, 40, 50 years ago, there are not too many people who have diabetes, but, in modern societies, there's always positive calorie balance, plus reduced physical activity. People gain a lot of body weight, and eventually now diabetes is quite a prevalent disease, not only in developed countries such as United States, but also in certain developing countries, including China and India. So we have published two articles on this regard. We found that in U.S. populations, the white rice consumption is associated with higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Of course, you can imagine in Western populations, the intake of white rice is quite low. But still at this range, we observe a positive association between white rice intake and the diabetes risk. Then in 2012, we carry on to conduct a meta-analysis, which not only includes data from the Western populations, but also from a few Asian populations, including a couple of studies conducted in Japan and also in China. So when we put the data together, obviously, we observe for Asian populations, also for Western populations, the higher white rice intake is associated with a higher type 2 diabetes risk. So our conclusion is that given the current environment in which obesogenic and diabetogenic environment, that excess consumption of white rice, and also this is also true for other sources of refined carbohydrate, the high intake of those foods will likely lead to higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
In addition to a connection shown between white rice and diabetes, Harvard professor Chi Sun says Asians are more likely to develop the disease compared to other ethnicities.
Diabetes is a disease that is caused by not only environmental factors, meaning that their diet, lifestyle, but also genetic predisposition. And there are a GWAS study we call genome-wide association study that specific target on minorities and found some SNPs that are unique to Asian populations and also African populations. But also for each population, there's strong component of environmental factors, including diet and lifestyle. For example, given the same body mass index, Asians tend to have more body fat than African Americans or Caucasians. So diabetes to a certain degree is a disease of being fat. So the more body fat a person has and higher risk of diabetes that the individual may have. And talking about Asian countries, in Korea, also true in China. I think there's if you're looking back in 50 years, there's dramatic change we call the economic transition, and accompanied by dietary transition and the lifestyle transition. Then if you look at the dietary data in those countries, you can observe the total energy intake increase dramatically. So there's a constant positive energy balance, and foods are cheaper now. And also there's dramatic reduction of physical activity. For example, in China, people used to ride bicycles to their work, but nowadays, more and more people choose to drive cars, and cause dramatic traffic air pollution, plus is dramatically reduced physical activity.
I also spoke with another expert connected to Dr. Sun's research who, while cautious of saying there's a causal link between white rice and diabetes, agrees that less white rice in your diet is preferable.
My name is Bruce Neal. I'm Professor of Medicine at the George Institute at the University of Sydney. I'm a cardiovascular epidemiologist, and I lead the Food Policy Division at the George Institute. I didn't conduct the research. What I did was I wrote a commentary on the research report at the request of the journal that published the research. And the guts of my commentary was that was a clear association within the research that was done, but there's a difference between association and causation. So you can see things that appear to happen together, but whether that means that one actually led to the other is a really important difference. It's actually very, very challenging to do this sort of work. There are several problems. The first is that actually getting a reliable measure of what people eat in terms of rice and all the other foods that go with it is very difficult. There are lots of tools out there, but we know that they all do a pretty imprecise job of it. The second thing is that there are lots of other features about people who eat rice that will be common or different to people who don't eat rice. And if you want to understand the association between rice and the risk of diabetes, you really need to have good measures of those other factors as well. And while you can do your best at that, when you fit the statistical models at the end, you can never really be sure. And we've seen exactly this sort of problem in other parts of nutritional epidemiology. So, I mean, we actually do know a lot about what causes diabetes, and if there's one way to prevent diabetes that we can be really confident of, that is by not getting overweight, or if you're actually overweight, trying to lose some weight. And that is the single thing that we can be absolutely sure of is likely to produce benefit. So while people may choose to avoid white rice, and that may be a reasonable thing to do, and it's unlikely to do them any harm, the bigger picture thing to do would be to try and control weight.
I'm Chance Dorland for KoreaFM.net. This episode is brought to you by Podcast Assist, offering voiceovers, audio editing and mastering, transcriptions and show notes, episode summaries, and even hosting a podcast on a topic important to you. Visit Facebook.com/Podcast Assist for more info on their flat $30 per hour rate. Talk radio, music, and podcasts from the Korean Peninsula. KoreaFM.net.